right. Hello. Welcome back, you guys, to the BloxFam breakthroughs. I'm hoping we maybe have some people who kind of come alive in here today. We'll kind of see what happens. It's been fun to kind of like some waters. All right, guys, I'm Jessi. I am the founder and creative director of This Way to Fabulous, and we are a strategic branding agency for entrepreneurs. So obviously the BloxFam was a very, very fun place to be. So I am here with another fellow castmate, so let's just kind of dive right in. Why don't you let everybody know who you are and what it is that you do?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
All right, cool. Yeah, my name is LeBarron. I'm with Durant Enterprises, which is a credit education consultation and repair firm. So I focus on helping people helping educate people on credit.
Amazing. So tell us a little bit more about your story. Kind of like how did you get to where you are right now?
Yeah, so I was looking to get in the real estate world, and a lot of the same things that people are told no for, like credit. So I was hearing that over and over. So I wanted to help other people not see those same barriers when it came to getting in the world of investing or getting in the world of real estate. So what I did was to start, credit repair, and I started helping people get their credit repaired. So that's how I started. And
That's that's awesome. That's really really cool. So how did you hear about the blocks? How did you even kind of hear about this experience?
so I heard about the blocks with the Facebook ad. So I
Yeah.
saw a Facebook ad, and they were like, "Well, would you like to be on a TV show?" And I was like, "What the hell? Why not?"
Right? Like
So,
what was that moment that you were like, "Yeah, I got to do this."
well, I looked. I mean, I saw it, and I was like, you know what? This would be a really fun thing to do. And then when I sent off my video or whatnot for the first one, then they responded to me, and I was like, well, I know I need help, and this might be the avenue for it. So if I get in, then this must be it.
Yeah.
So I sent off my video, did the interview, and got through all three rounds. And I was like, well, I told myself if I got through, then I would go ahead and do it. So
Yeah. What did you
pretty
think of the casting process? Like I'm so curious to know what everybody else thinks about the cast process because I thought it was like so long. I thought I thought it was just like so much.
really. Well, it wasn't. It took maybe a week and a half for me.
Really?
Uh, yeah. So I sent off the video. They replied to me probably in 2 days, and then had somebody call me. And I guess it depends on who your judge was that did your
Yeah.
interview, the second interview. But yeah, and the guy that did the second interview with me, probably happened out like a week out after that. And then he was like, "Well, I know, well, just based on what you explained to me, I believe in what you're doing, and I think this would really be good for you." And I've never gotten any other reviews about the block other than that. It's like, I think this will be really beneficial for you, and it's the best thing I've ever done for my
Yeah.
business.
Oh,
So
by far. And do you feel like that? Well, we'll get to that. I'll keep that question for later. We'll get to that. But no, I feel like I applied in like February maybe. And I don't think the casting really happened until like May. And so I feel like there were like 3 or 4 or maybe 5 like levels of casting or whatever. And I just felt like there was like so much time in between them that I was always like, oh, there's no way I made it. Like it's fine, whatever. And then all of a sudden there'd be an email and I'm like, oh my God. it was pretty wild. So
yeah.
all right, so let's kind of jump into some of the questions that I think are going to be helpful for viewers, whether they're Blocks fam or not. And I kind of want to talk a little bit about the experience from the standpoint of, the lens of your business, before and after. Where would you say that, like, what season were you in as a business before you got cast, like before you went off to the blocks?
So I had already begun servicing clients as far as like I had maybe 15 to 20 clients,
Okay.
and so it passed the ideation stage. It was past just being anxious about starting and all of that stuff. So I was already in the trenches doing things. and I had even hired a VA at that point. So, so getting into the block part of it, I know there are people like with all different stages of business, and one of the things that I've never been afraid to do is like jump out there, even when I'm scared. It's like, well, I'm gonna do it, so I might as well, get it done. So,
Yeah.
so I was in the stage of already helping people out. So it definitely it definitely came at a good time because and I mean I know we'll get into it, but one of the things that I know that was helping me was like putting the corporate lens of it onto my business. So some of the same things that you learn when you're working for corporate America, they translate into your entrepreneurial business as well.
Yeah. So what do you feel like where are you feeling like you are as a business now? So for context, you guys, we are about 6 or 7 weeks post filming. So, we've been out of the show for probably about almost 2 months now. So how do you feel like you are like where do you think you are right now being, 6 or 7 weeks post where do you think you are now?
So because of the blocks, I've pulled back a lot of things just because I want to make sure the foundation is laid, and for me to do that, I have to be working on the business and not in the business.
Yeah,
Me doing the playbook, doing writing down everything that you're doing right now, and realizing how many things you're doing as a solopreneur, and then taking that and seeing where you can make a playbook or where you can divvy out those things so that your business is sellable. And that's where I'm at now. So I think in the grand scheme of things, it would look on the outside looking in, it would look like I've gone backwards.
you
But
sure?
for the bigger picture, I've actually moved forward a lot.
Yeah. And I have to say, obviously, I can appreciate the fact that you scaled back and you went back to foundations because that's what I do. That's what I help people with is making sure that, I was a marketing agency considered, a year and a half ago. And I had made the decision not that long before we went to the blocks that I was like, you know what? Something doesn't feel right. And it was the fact that I had so many clients coming to us that just were throwing money at the wrong problems. And I just kind of felt this pull to really take it on myself to really start to help other people focus on the things that matter first before they start throwing their money and their time into the things that they're going to have to come back to if they're not, a strong foundation. So I, for one, love hearing you say that because because I'm
Yeah,
biased, but
I was I was throwing money at the wrong things, and I'm kind of glad I did it before I got to the block to understand, because just like probably all of us that went to the block realize, like there's a lot of things that we as entrepreneurs have amnesia about, number one, and then there's a lot of things that we've learned wrong in number two. So when you get on Facebook and they say, I can get you 12 clients per day, and it's like, well, I didn't understand that I can't handle that many clients right now because I
yeah,
don't have the foundation laid enough for me to take on 12 clients. And I would get burnt out if I even had 12 clients a day.
for sure.
So being able to scale that and stop throwing money at the wrong things, like you're saying, is very, very beneficial and frugal and all of the good words.
Yeah, and
Um,
like you said, I think a lot of people can relate to that because we're all at some point or not, at the same place. And I think it's really interesting because I think that while we can recognize that all of us as entrepreneurs are, in that position at many times, a lot of times this is going to happen anytime that we scale or grow or pivot or change. But, I think it's important that you recognize that you admit that you have come to that conclusion because there are a lot of them out there and myself included for a long time. I was operating as that marketing agency for probably about a year and a half before I really kind of like came to Jesus and was like, something isn't right. And I can no longer just kind of like forget about it or sweep it under the rug, like and it takes a lot. I will say, I want to say that to make sure that those in the back hear this, but like it's hard. it's hard to bring yourself to that position of saying something's not right, something's not working. I got to change something, and I think that takes a lot of balls. It takes a lot of time to grow the balls to be able to say, you know what I'm doing isn't working, because we're all human. We all want to believe that what we're doing is awesome and that it's what everybody wants and it's going amazingly. And, I think Wes was the like perfect persona to like slap us in the face with the fact of like, y'all don't know what the hell you're doing. Really, I loved that.
Those actionable steps that we need is really good too, because
Yeah.
it wasn't just your shit's broken and then there's nothing else. You don't get anything else. It's like it's broken and this is what you need to do next. This is what you do after that. This is what you do after that, and this is how you get to $1 million. So you have like tangible things you can do.
Yes, I
Um,
agree. He is a genius in how he has crafted all of this, because just like you said, is something that I'm a huge advocate for as well in my own workshops and networking events, is action taking. Is like, let's talk about the things that may need a little bit of tweaking, and let's actually do the thing. Let's not just talk about it, because way too many of us can talk and talk and talk and talk, but we do not walk the walk because it's hard. It's easier to talk about it and say, yeah, whatever, but like to actually go do it. And just like you said, every day it was kind of like, okay, here you go. Like, here's the road that you can go on to fix that thing. Um,
every day too.
it was. There were some days where I was like, damn, man, that feels personal.
But us as entrepreneurs, we love pain. So
That's true. That's true. The right ones, the ones that are set out for this. Which, like, louder for those in the back. Entrepreneurship is not for everyone. Like, I'm sorry, but it's not. You have you. It just. I'm not even going to go into that. That's a whole nother topic. But okay. So I'm curious. Before we move into like your experience, I'm curious. What was your transition back like to reality when you left? Because everybody's got real good stories about just kind of like what that first maybe like 7 to 10 days was like after you got back.
yeah, so the first 7 to 10 days, I almost burnt out because I was trying to get things done and not really going back to my notebook, which I keep all the time now. So yeah, my notebook.
Mm-hmm.
Not getting the actionable things that I have in my notebook, and you kind of go back into the things you were doing before that you thought was going to move you forward, and then when you realize, okay, that wasn't serving me before, so why am I still doing that? So let me take a step back. Let me look at this stuff. So to answer your question, though, I almost burned out in the week I got back, and then I took an assessment of what I was doing, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take a couple of days off. I'm gonna look at what I have in front of me, and then when I realize that I need to, actually do the things that were my action items that I took away from the block, I started writing those things down.
Yeah.
So, um, so yeah, to answer your question, I fell back into the fell back into the same rut, and then I stopped everything and took a break.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, because I think a lot of people want to believe that they went home and like absorbed and processed and all the things, but I think that truly a lot of us came home and thought we could hammer it all out in a week and be like back to normal after that, and it was just another goddamn slap in the face. I mean, it was not a redheaded dread douche slapping us in the face anymore. It was just like our own lives, and
Right.
it was tough. But I agree with you that I think that we came back, and so for me, I came back and I had this idea of all the things I needed to fix and change and whatever. But just like you said, like I started to do all these things without really having the notebook with me to really kind of like make sure that I was remembering these things correctly and stuff. And I started changing things that were wrong. It was like that's not what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to go to that thing and change it, but I was supposed to change it to XYZ. I was supposed to reflect on that, and so same. I had to kind of stop myself because I was just not in the right headspace. I needed that time to finish processing to be able to jump into that. So that's yeah,
And I'm
that's
this up because that's one of the things we learned, like just going through the curriculum, is that you change one thing, you find out how it performs, and then you realize, like, you get the numbers to back up whatever the assumption was that you changed. You don't
yeah,
keep changing things before you have numbers,
yeah,
because works better the other way. And if you won't know that unless you have the numbers to back it up.
Yeah, for sure. So let's dive into kind of like your experience on the show. So, just to kind of start it out lighthearted, was there anything like super funny or memorable that you remember from your time being there? Like, doesn't have to do with Wes really like anything. Like, was there just anything like really funny that you remember while you were there?
The funniest thing that I can remember, and I mean I'm not saying any names just because you're innocent, but seeing somebody cry at you was the fun.
Was what?
Was seeing someone cry on cue.
Oh, that yeah, man. Do you remember like a lot of funny things? Like, what did you feel like the whole week was pretty funny? Or
Well, I find humor. I don't know if you know much about Capricorns, but I have dry, dark sense of humor. So I find everything, even though I'm an introvert, I
yeah,
find a lot of humor in the everyday things. But just connecting with people, and I mean, I joke with you all the time too. I was like, you have the pinkest pants I've ever seen. So there they are, the pink
no, these are
pants.
different ones. These are different ones. These are like jogger pants. But I definitely made sure I wore pink pants for this because I knew this guy. He dubbed me the hashtag hot pink pants queen, and you know what? It fits. The shoe fits. I mean, I can't deny that the shoe fits. So
You're talking too, so it's like you got
hey,
two long legs.
I mean, the day of the personal branding, there was no chance in hell I was not wearing the pink pants because that is my brand. That is like there was no chance, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So maybe I was the funniest part, running around in my pink pants.
Well, I mean, there were other characters
Yeah.
that were so
It was a great group. And you said something earlier about it being a lot of people in different seasons and different industries and just whatever. And I do feel like they did a fantastic job casting from the standpoint of diversity on all levels, like
yeah,
all different walks of life, all different seasons of business, all different industries. I do really feel like they did a fantastic job of that.
yeah, you feel like your industry is saturated until you get to a place like this, and you're like, nobody else does what I do. Wait,
Yeah.
you're like,
And
oh, everybody
And I
do
don't
that.
have to explain what it's like to be an entrepreneur. They get it. Like it was just we got to third base right when we got there because we already knew.
Instant friends. Everybody's like, you get me. Wait.
Yes, there were. I mean, the trust factor was so fast. I mean, like that very first meal we sat down at, the people that I was talking to, it was just like the conversations were deep 2 minutes in because it was just like we passed all those barriers. It was fantastic. Like if life could be like that, that'd be crazy. Um, okay, so looking back at kind of the whole experience, what do you feel like was the most challenging part for you?
I think pacing myself was the biggest challenge. Like when I got home, like what I was saying before, I almost burnt out when I got home, um, and being able to recognize those things quickly is the thing that I think is different about now. So it's like, okay, now I know that I'm not performing or not doing the things that I set out myself to do, and to be able to recognize that quickly and pivot, or to be able do something else is one of the good things like about the challenge. So I mean, I know that's one of the things that I really away from that.
Yeah, were you when you came on the show, were you like, yes, I want to be on stage, or were you like, please God, don't choose me?
I was in between,
Okay,
because I told you I'm an introvert, so I was more so on the side on stage, but I'm an extrovert. I can perform well in crowds and things like that. I'm a musician. I do a lot of things. I was a singer before, and and the ability to perform. And I was actually a trainer as well, so I was a public speaker. So
damn,
um,
dude.
the ability to perform in front of people, that doesn't bother me,
Sure.
but it's just not wanting to. It's like, well, I know I can, but I don't want to.
Well, yeah, and in those other things that you do publicly and in front of people, like you're a little bit more in control of that experience. And I, for one, was like, please God, don't put me on that stage. I was like, I know what I'm talking about, but like most of this week, I don't know what I'm talking about. So please don't put me on that stage. I'm definitely more introverted as well, but I am like an extroverted introvert. Like I can extrovert when I need to. I really don't mind. Like I love running my workshops and my networking events and stuff where it's like smaller groups of people and stuff. But again, that's topics that I know that I brought to the table. Those are situations where I'm in control. And so I think that was like my biggest fear was like being chosen to go up there and have to like not be in control. Turns out I'm a control freak. So thanks Blocks for, slapping me
I
with
think
that one too.
the difference for me in those situations, though, is that those kind of things drain me, and being secluded, it recharges me. So, but there's a lot of people that will see, like you and I have a podcast as well, but they would see us and see that we're, we can speak eloquently and we can do things like this in front of people, and they would
Mm-hmm.
think automatically, well, you have to be an extrovert if you can do that. And it's like, no, it's actually the opposite. I don't want to do this stuff, but I know I want to help people more than I don't want to be in front of people.
Yeah. I think we recognize the value of it a little bit more. I think I took it for granted a little bit beforehand, like think and hindsight's 2020. So that 2 weeks after, I mean, first of all, the first 5 days I was home, I was so fucking tired. I like could not even see straight. I was so tired. But I also just kind of felt like it was a reflection time of me to really kind of like see what else I took out of the show, more like maybe more like on a personal level too, and just kind of like those mindset shifts and just kind of some of those things I felt like I was not expecting, coming back. I was really expecting to just kind of like have all this information and and then it was so transformative in so many ways, like so many ways. Um Okay, so did you have like a favorite thing throughout the week? Like, did you have something that, you liked the most or like definitely felt the most comfortable with?
Well, the food was good, definitely. So, I mean, I was happy that that our money went towards that food. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, most memorable thing, I guess. Um, and I touched on this a little bit before, but just realizing that the corporate structure or the corporate things that we learned, playbooks and things that we learned about, customer service, things like that, they're transferable to our businesses even in the early stages, because you
Oh yeah.
probably get to a place where you're like, well, I have to have 70 employees for me to implement customer service or implement a feedback loop or anything like that. But no, you can do that from day one, and if you go into it thinking that way, like I'm gonna have killer customer service, or I'm gonna make playbooks so that when I do hire somebody, I won't have to go back and do this. You realize that it's gonna make you more efficient in the long run. So just like you and I, like when we pull things back, when you have a solid foundation, it's easier to build on that foundation versus if you have a shaky foundation. You're gonna have to go back and tear it down anyway, so you might as well start off with the right foundation.
Yeah, and I like that you touch on the long run in the long game. And this is a conversation I have with people all the time. But entrepreneurship is not all short game. I get that we need to make short term goals and we need to be thinking short term for certain things. But realistically, in the grand scheme of things, this is a long game, and we also have to be able to think in about the long game. And that's definitely something where for me, when clients are coming in, that's kind of my niche. I'm better at the longer term thinking than I am the shorter term thinking. And so, a lot of people will come in and they'll say, well, this is what I want to do. And this is where I want to be, in 2 years. And I'm like, okay, well, where do you want to be in 10? So like, I'm not saying we can't get to where you want to be in 2, but where do you want to be in 10? Because I want to make sure that we're building the foundation for the 10 years, not for the 2 years. Because if you build it for the 2, you're going to get to year 1 and you're going to have to start over because something's going to happen and, whatever. So I appreciate that you say something about the long run, because I think that is something that we don't think about enough, especially when you're building those foundations. Yeah. All right. So the official definition of a breakthrough is a sudden, dramatic, and important discovery or development. Okay. So I want you to think about the time that we were there in prison for 6 days. And I want you to think about what do you think was the biggest breakthrough or like aha moment that you had while we were there?
And I kind of prep, so I mean, it's not to take me long to think about because a lot of the answers are the same.
Yeah,
Um,
that's fine.
but just the spin on it and the explanation of it is a little different. But the specific breakthrough that I had was the corporate things like we were talking about again, the playbook, customer service, all of that play a part in the like, know, and trust. So when you're talking about the long game, you're looking at, and I mean, I know all of us entrepreneurs are like, well, I can't do the corporate gig, and I want to make sure that I have something outside of that, and that's where we start. But the crux of it is, well, what are you going to do? How are you going to help people? And then money is an afterthought when you get to the real thing that you want to do.
Yeah.
So, so the aha moment for me was just realizing that the long game is helping people and where the impact is made, but you have to get there with the corporate things like the playbook, the customer service, so that you're not worried about that stuff when you're moving when the train is going. So
Yeah. So what would you say, and I think I know your answer, what would you say is like from your breakthroughs and your takeaways and the transformation that you've gone through, what like one piece of major advice would you give to an entrepreneur that might be watching that was not on the blocks, that is maybe in, and I guess it doesn't really matter what season they're in, but like what advice would you give to another entrepreneur?
yeah. So the first piece of advice is start. Don't be afraid to start because you're going to learn things when you're doing that you would have never learned when you're on the sideline.
Yeah.
So when you just start, that's number one. Number two is the goal is to make your business run without you. Because if you have to run your business, then it's like you're going to burn yourself out. Because if
Mm-hmm.
you have, then you're going to burn yourself out. And then understand that there's going to be months, years of no profit. But if you commit to, okay, well, I'm going to do this for 10 years, and if you still want to do that thing, then that's probably the thing for you to do.
Yeah.
So you want an expert in under 10 years anyway. So like if you're going to commit to it, then that's what you need to be doing.
Yeah. Do you have a big team or
I
do you?
don't.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
So, random off topic question for you, but did you feel like, and maybe this isn't even a question as much as a concern or a comment. When I came back, I realized that I did a terrible job of setting myself up to be gone for a week. And so when I came back, not only was I like physically tired, emotionally tired, and trying to process all these things, I had a million fires I had to put out because I did not I did not do a very good job of, setting myself up when I left. And I'm always curious to see what everybody else did to try to set themselves up before they left. Like if they have a big team to help that, or obviously I know my answer now because I should have had I should have had a playbook, but um,
Yeah. But to answer your question, no, I didn't. I didn't have a lot of fires to put out when I got back. The nature of the credit business, though, it's kind of like an in the box business.
yeah.
But if that's if you take the traditional credit repair where you just do it for people. Whereas I'm not trying to. That's not where my value lies. My value lies in educating people on how the credit game works, and even to the point of helping children understand to where the credit game works, so that when you get to the stages of where you're using credit, then you already understand it. Or if you're an adult and you've already made some decisions that didn't serve you very well, then now you know, okay, well, this is what I'll do different for next time because I want this outcome. So, so because of that, I'm making a switch to make playbooks to serve that purpose. But as far as like when I left, it wasn't a big deal as far as like getting the customers that I'm already serving
Yeah.
them because the VA she was able to just keep going the way she was going already. So not a lot of fires to put out, but there's a lot of internal fires that I had.
The ones that you created for yourself to put out, right? Oh, I know all about that all too well, like way too well. All right, so we're gonna go into just a couple of rapid fire questions because I think it's cool to just kind of ask some random ass shit, to kind of get to know everybody here. But okay, let's see here. Do. All right, are you an early bird or a night owl?
I am both. My wife does not like that I stay up really late and wake up early. But I mean, well, I guess,
So you're
well,
just like I don't sleep much.
Now I do. I'm a late out. I'm a night owl. I guess I used to be an early bird, but I didn't realize it was only because I had a job that I had to get to early. But I started working from home. I'm a night owl.
I love it. Okay, what is the most unexpected thing you've learned as an entrepreneur?
Hmm. The most unexpected.
Think about any more slaps in the faces, not necessarily by a redhead
Well, I think the most
or by a
unexpected.
redhead.
Well, Christine's a redhead too, so. But the most unexpected thing I learned was that the crux of all of us as entrepreneurs, everything we do is essentially solving a problem. So no matter what you talk about, like fill in the blank of the business, it's solving a problem.
Yep.
So whatever you're doing that feels good to you to solve that problem is probably the entrepreneurial journey that you need to be on. So, but yeah, I mean that's it.
Yeah. And to picky on that, I guess I would say also learning not to make our own problems to fix because like we don't have to add on like and we do. Maybe that's just me. I guess that could just be me, but I feel like I add more problems on half the time because
I made that.
that damn creative problem solving brain of mine is just like it gets me in trouble sometimes. I think really I do. Yes, I literally make more problems than there need to be sometimes, and I am finally old enough to start recognizing that. All right, one more. What is your favorite go-to productivity hack?
A go-to productivity hack is ChatGPT. It's like it jumps me off from whatever, like fill in the blank. Even when I'm in the podcast, like that, I'll put in some things like give me 7 to 10 questions I can ask an entrepreneur about fill in the blank, and it usually is the stuff I want to ask them anyway, but it phrases it better than I could.
Yeah. Hey. I've learned in like the productivity aspects that like you got to do what you got to do and you got to find what works for you. And I'm always I have this like really weird obsession with points of view and perspective and how other people do things like this, just this like nonstop curiosity of like, what were they thinking? Well, like, what were they thinking? Or like, what were they thinking? Like, I can't turn that off either. But I've come to the conclusion that I have this like weird obsession with perspective and how other people's brains work and how like maybe that could help me, maybe I think and buy into too many of those things, but like I want to know maybe that would work for me. I don't know. Too much for that, but okay. All right, so we're gonna wrap this up. Thank you so much for coming on here. I think this is gonna be an amazing resource for us to be able to use when our season launches in like
Yeah,
2035. And just also when it does launch to our own communities and all of this, I think this is going to be an amazing tool for people out there. I think it's going to be really inspiring for other people who they might be in pre-launch, they might be 5 years in their stock, and I feel like it's so important for us to have these conversations, and I'm a huge advocate for kind of paying it forward. And I think this was an experience that I will never truly be able to make anyone else understand or anything besides us. That's why we're BloxFam for life. But I just feel the pull to pay it forward to those who didn't necessarily get to experience something like this. So super super appreciate you coming on here today. If people are vibing with you with what you do, how would you like people to find you and connect with you?
the best way to find me is on IG. So it's Durant Enterprises, DURANT ENTERPRISES. So it is the best place because it has my link tree and all of that stuff. And
Yeah.
the other thing that you can find is right now I have a podcast as well, but it's called Credit Chats. It's on all of the major distributions. And Alina, who's watching, she's going to be on too. So
Oh, that's
yeah, we're
awesome. That's awesome. And I will drop all the links in the description as well so that they're very, easily accessible. But fantastic to know that the Insta is like your main place. Do you have any links or resources or anything that you want to share with anybody that you want me to drop in there too?
not right now. I'm
Okay.
I'm polishing those up. So
Yeah. Well, we have until 2035 until our season launches. So, in the meantime, if we do end up having a link or a lead magnet or anything, I will drop it in the description before it goes live to the public. And that is a wrap. So thank you so much for coming on here to chat with me today. Your energy, I just love your energy. The great. I love how you put the great on the end. I just saw that right now. Oh my God, I'm so silly. Okay. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in to another episode, and I'll see you guys next time.
Peace.
Bye.